Juliana.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Well, it's good to see you, and I'm so glad that you decided to come back.
Thanks for having me back.
I was just wondering or kind of worried that I thought maybe you weren't going to come back since you told me you tried counseling before and you decided to stop. So I'm glad to see you back, and I think that shows very positive self-determination and willingness on your part, and I guess we'll get started.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, I'm excited this time.
Oh, good.
I'm feeling very motivated to continue and to get into a better mindset.
That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. And it sounds like we will have a very good session then. Yeah. So, so to go back over what we last discussed, let's see, you had, you can correct me if I get it wrong, but I remember you telling me that you went to counseling at one point and then you stopped, but since then you've had several deaths, 2 in your family and 1 a co-student
Mm-hmm.
at your sorority house.
Yeah, she was in my sorority with me. Yeah.
And so since those deaths, it's brought up some issues for you, and that's why you decided to come back and seek counseling.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, originally I was seeking counseling because I'm a very anxious person, and I was just hoping to find some better skills to cope with that, but I've always just kind of pushed it off and decided that I was managing on my own. But after having all these deaths, it's been kind of a different experience as far as that goes.
Right, okay. So then if you could, for me, tell me what it was like when, or what issues you were dealing with when the first time you went to counseling. Because I don't think we discussed that. So yeah. I wasn't really sure. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I've kind of dealt with chronic depression and anxiety issues since high school. I think that I mainly feel depressed as a result of my anxiety. I have a lot of social anxiety. I panic a lot in social situations. I usually handle them pretty well, but I still just beat myself up after the fact and worry about them, even if they're totally normal to other people. But yeah, so I've always kind of dealt with that, but now I'm having a lot of death anxiety, and so my anxiety has kind of changed a little bit. I find myself worrying about people I love a lot more than I did before.
Okay.
More in a unhealthy way. I mean, like constantly worrying that something's going to happen to them, or to the point where it's like unlivable or unmanageable.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you, if that's how you feel, that your life is not, that you're not in control of your life, or do you feel that your life is becoming unmanageable because of the anxiety, since you said that you had chronic depression and social anxiety, and now it sounds like you have a fear of death anxiety, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, it's what I would classify as death anxiety. Like, I'm just very, I guess before, like, you worry about people you love, but now I'm constant.
Obsessing?
Yeah.
Is that a good word?
Okay. Yeah, it's more obsessive.
More obsessing, okay.
Just
than normal.
Constant anxiety.
Right.
And with like the depression and stuff, I always like, it comes in bouts, so like depending on what was going on in my life, I could be fine, which is what happened with counseling before. I was in a bad place, and then I pulled myself out of the bad place and was feeling better, but then obviously it's back now because of all the stuff that's happened.
And that's a good strength a good strength to have, because you said that you pulled, in the past, you've been able to pull yourself out of it. So I believe that you have that strength to do that again. So, but that's what we'll be talking about today is, setting some goals for you, both of us together, and what that's going to look like, a strategy, coming up with a strategy plan. And so to help you get to a point to where this is not so consuming your life. And yeah, so anyway, going back to your chronic depression and social anxiety, when you first came to counseling, I just wanted to get a feel of what that looked like. When you say chronic depression, that usually means it was pretty severe.
Yeah, it started, I didn't really have any issues with any of that until high school. It started like my senior year of high school. Had a lot of like issues with like being bullied and stuff like that, and it kind of just started to come up. I had some stuff happen with my family and just some not so good friends, and I fell into a really dark place like around my senior year of high school, which is when I sought counseling the first time, was right around when I started my undergraduate career. But yeah, it just, I was in a bad place. Like I was having a lot of dark thoughts all the time. I kind of hit this place where I didn't really want to live, but I considered college as a point where I could escape from what I was feeling, and so I kind of just pushed myself to make it to that point, because I told myself that it would be better when I got there, and it ended up working out that way. It was better, and
good. Yeah.
And it got better, more progressively better from there. And there were some other times throughout my undergraduate career where I kind of fell back into that, but mostly it was okay until now.
And were you living at home when you were doing your undergraduate, or were you living on campus?
On campus.
On campus, so you were away from your family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it sounds like when the stuff that you were going through during high school, it sounds like I didn't hear a lot of support, and it sounded like that maybe you were very lonely and having to deal with all of this stuff by yourself.
I was in a way. My parents are very supportive people, but they didn't really understand what I was going through back then. They often would get mad at me because I was so sad all the time, and they didn't really understand why, and they sometimes made it worse unintentionally, though their
Mm-hmm.
intentions were always good. They often didn't help as much with that as I needed, I guess.
Right, yeah. That's, I guess that's the issue, or the point that I wanted to focus on, is that it didn't sound like you got, the support that you needed at home, and you were going through a lot of stuff at school, and but you worked through it in a sense of starting undergrad school.
Mm-hmm.
And so do you feel like during that time that you were able to kind of get a hold of it? The depression, you weren't experiencing it as much. What about your social anxiety? When you were in college?
Yeah, that kind of came about more in college.
Okay.
Like before, I had anxiety about other things,
Mhm.
like school anxiety and
Mhm.
stuff. But I guess it was just more interacting with larger groups of people and meeting people that were different from the norm that I was used to, I guess, and worrying about not fitting expectations that other people had for me, I guess, or not filling roles that I felt like I should fill. It's different now. Like I've kind of managed that
Okay.
in my own way, but now it's really just the deaths that I'm dealing with.
Okay. Yeah, so, let's see here. So, with the chronic depression and the social anxiety and now the death anxiety, what does life look like for you today, right now? What would you say, which would you say you're dealing with the most? The death anxiety?
Yeah, mostly right now it's just death anxiety. I have a lot of anxiety about other things. I wouldn't say I was really like depressed before this. I'm feeling a lot of depression right now, but I'm not really sure if it should be classified as depression or just really bad grief. But mostly I just it's just creating like anxiety about losing somebody else. It's just I've lost so many people in such a short amount of time that I don't really know how to deal with that, and I have a big fear of it happening again. Like it's been a few months now since I lost those people, and so I've kind of started to like, I don't want to say accept it, because like it's hard to accept something like that, but I've kind of started to understand it in a different way.
Yeah, it sounds like you're starting to process it, and that's one of the reasons why you're probably here. Is you have recognized that this way of thinking is not doing you justice, and it's interfering with your daily life routines and things like that, and you're obviously have come to a point where you're ready to deal with this, whatever it is, anxiety or whatever you want to call it, and move on with your life. Does that sound
yeah, no,
close to what?
That's pretty spot on. I'm definitely looking. I want to, like right now I'm just in the point where I'm not like crying about things every single day anymore. Not that I'm not still sad about it. I can't display it that same way all the time anymore.
Right.
But.
And if I may interject real quick, that's what I was going to ask you is, what does that depression look like right now?
Right.
Give me an example, like, life in a day, or.
Right now it's more of like when it first happened, it was just very emotional. Like I said, like I couldn't get through the day without like bursting into tears, because I was just constantly thinking about losing the people that I loved, and fearing of losing somebody else. And like I said, I still have a lot of fear and anxiety about that. But now it's more of like a numbness. I feel myself starting to separate myself from it, just so that I can continue living. I don't know if that's moving on or if it's just me not wanting to feel that way anymore. So I'm starting to kind of put it over here and put myself over here, just so that I can.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it seems like you're processing it as best you can, and but it also sounds like you still have some underlying anxiety and sorry, I don't know what time it is.
Yeah, it shut off, but we have 14.
Oh.
So
Oh, it shut off?
this shut off. I don't know how to restart it, but we have.
Oh.
No, that's still running.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
We can edit that part out.
Okay. All right. Oh my gosh, what I was saying.
You were saying.
Oh yeah, so you have this underlying anxiety, which is affecting any current issues that you have come up. So to me, it sounds like that's probably what would be good to focus on, is that original anxiety
Mhm.
that sounds like you've had since high school.
Mhm.
And maybe we can, put some goals together and a strategy plan and talking about the anxiety.
Mhm.
One question I do want to ask is, how does your family deal with deaths? Do they talk about it?
Yeah, my parents are pretty good with open communication. I don't know, my dad, with the loss of his brother is not, he hasn't really dealt with it. He wasn't very close with his brother, and so his attitude about it comes off kind of cold. But because he wasn't close with his brother, I wasn't as close with his brother.
Right.
He was always very nice, like a very nice uncle, but we just didn't have like the same relationship that a lot of people would have with their aunts and uncles.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very different relationship with my dad's other sibling than I do with this particular sibling. I think my dad kind of resented him in some ways in his life, and that kind of has carried over into what he feels in his death. And then with my grandfather, my mom is very almost inconsolable about it all the time. She's having a lot of outbursts, kind of, I don't know, she just is really angry and both angry and sad at the same time. A lot of emotion that she's showing, more emotion than I've ever seen her show about a lot of things. She tends to be very composed all the time. So that's been kind of a change of pace.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been really stressful and difficult for her to process.
Yeah.
And it was her father.
Mhm. And yeah, it's been really hard for her. And I think, it's difficult because as a mother, you go to your mom for comfort about things.
Right.
And I've dealt with more deaths than she has in this time, but
yeah.
It still was her father, and it's
Right.
different from a father than a grandfather. I was close to my grandfather. I really care about him and loved him. So it's been hard, but it's hard for her to make me feel better when she can't make herself feel better.
Right. Yeah.
So that's been.
It's difficult to see a parent in a difficult, stressful place, and there's not a whole lot that you can do for them, other than being there for them, and vice versa, So it sounds like what you're telling me is that your mother and father deal with death differently,
very differently,
and doesn't seem like there's a lot of togetherness. I'm lacking the right word that I want to use, but being a family and talking about the deaths, and it sounds like you pretty much have to deal with it on your own.
We talk about it, we do talk about it. I have siblings as well, and we've all discussed certain things at length. I just see that my parents are having more outbursts. They are fighting more because of what they're feeling for their own stuff, and it's kind of weird because normally my father's the more emotional of the two. They're kind of a role reversal sometimes, and my mom's more doesn't show emotion. She's kind of I don't know, like I said, she's put together. she maintains a very strong persona all the
Right.
time, and so right now she's just much more emotional, and my dad is much more composed. It's almost like he just kind of shut off his feelings about it.
Mhm. And so how, seeing them in that way, how does that make you feel?
It's difficult, but I'm used to it. I've always kind of put myself in the middle of their stuff, and tried to help them in ways that I could, and I've been trying. It's just I'm kind of in my own turmoil right now, so I think that
Yeah.
any separation that we have is I've put myself at a separate
Right.
thing. It's not them not wanting to be there. It's me
Okay.
having to pull myself away because I don't know how to be there for them when I'm trying to help myself, which sounds selfish, but
Well, no, I mean, I would think that would be difficult for anybody, trying to be there for themselves and then, trying to be there for their parents, and when really, parents are supposed to be there for you, for the child. And that's a very complicated, complex, kind of a situation. Let's see here, how much time we got here? Okay. Well, what do you think about moving on to talking about some goals?
that would be good.
Okay. All right, so what do you feel would be a good place to start? Or what are some goals that you would like to achieve during this counseling process?
I think I'd like to be able to manage my anxiety better.
Okay.
I want to not feel so overwhelmed all the time by
Okay,
everything.
right,
That's really mainly what I'm wanting right now.
Okay.
It's just not to feel so
okay, mhm,
like everything is just happening all at once, which I know that it is, and it has. And I can't really change that, but it's frustrating to constantly have that feeling in the pit of my stomach all the time, like something's about to go terribly wrong.
right, right. And again, what I'm hearing is that, you think, you're able to think logically, you think the situation through, but your feelings is totally separate and on a different extreme level than what you're logically thinking. They don't match, in other words, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. They don't match. What you're feeling and what you're thinking doesn't really match. Okay, so those are two very, very realistic goals, and I think it would benefit to start with those two, and so your ultimate goal would be what? If anything that you want, what would be your ultimate goal?
Acceptance.
Acceptance of
Of just the deaths in general.
the grief process?
Yeah, I don't know, just being able to accept it. Like,
Mhm.
I get that I can't change it, it's part of life, but
Right,
I haven't
right.
really accepted it as a thing yet. I still feel angry and sad.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm starting to put it at a distance, but that's only
Mhm.
because it's just like too much anger and too much sadness all the time that I feel
Right,
about it.
right,
And it's just starting to become really overwhelming.
right.
So yeah, so
And you're still in school right now, so
yeah.
a combination of all that together is school and having to deal with overwhelming feelings is very difficult, very difficult. So
it's trying. I just want to be able to accept it.
right, and so come to a place to where you feel peace and serenity and capable of handling situations that come up and not be reacting to them, so to speak. physically, physically reacting to them, and just to, be able to work through a situation without having to deal with all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so managing anxiety better. Let's see, what are some activities or things that you think that would help you in the process of managing anxiety better, besides coming to counseling? Is there something that you think you could do in between counseling sessions, like on a daily basis, like if I was to give you like a homework exercise, something like where you write down your thoughts and feelings?
Yeah, I would be okay with that. I don't really have any specific ideas in my own mind, but I'm
Okay.
open to anything that you think could be helpful.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I think that would be a good place to start. Every day, have a journal book, and whatever time if you want to do it in the morning or if you want to do it in the evening, but to kind of jot down, briefly, what you're feeling that day, what you're thinking that day, and that way when you come back next week for our next session, we can look at the logbook, and that way you can kind of see where you're at,
mm-hmm.
And to help you to be more aware of things that that you're feeling and that you're thinking, and that could contribute to your anxiety and depression and not processing the grief.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so we can start with that. And also too, I would like for you to do something rewarding for yourself this week. Whether it's reading a good book or going to a movie, talking with an old friend, going for a walk, something like that that's, self-care, therapeutic, taking care of yourself.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
Okay. And then you can share with me when you come back some of the things that you did to do self-care and take care of yourself, and just to be